Well, good afternoon. It is Monday, April the 26th, and it has been an absolutely beautiful day today. It's 70 some degrees, low 70s, and the wind's been real calm. We've been sitting out on the deck and on the porch most of the day, so I've decided I'm going to fix us a steak for dinner and a baked potato. And one of my viewers had requested that I do a video on how to cook a steak without it being tough. So, Deborah, this is for you. And first of all, I'm going to give you some tips about buying the right kind of steak. Now, I know there's a huge difference in prices on the prime steaks. This is a ribeye, and if you can see all these little white streaks in the fat, that's called marbling. This, in my opinion, is the most tender steak you can buy. And it's because of these little pockets of fat within the steak, it keeps it moist and tender. There are three classifications of steak: select, choice, and prime. Select is the lowest grade, then choice, and then prime. I would consider this ribeye a prime steak. And I think it was $10.99 a pound, and Eddie and I are going to split this, so that's not too bad for one meal. But first thing I want to tell you is take your steak out of the refrigerator. I never use a frozen steak if I can help it. After you freeze meat, it changes the texture of it, and I think it makes it tough when you cook it. So I use a fresh steak. I lay it out on the counter at least 30 minutes before I cook it, and that's to let it come to room temperature. When you put a cold steak in a pan or on a grill, it seizes it, and so it makes it tough. So I'm going to let this sit out on the counter for about 30 minutes, and in the meantime, I'm going to get our baked potatoes ready. Alright, I'm going to fix a baked potato for Eddie, and I'm going to fix a baked sweet potato for myself. So, Eddie likes for his baked potato to be cooked in salt. Now, the first thing you do is poke some holes in it on both sides. This one had a little bad place on the end, so I just trimmed it off, but it won't hurt a thing. And then you rub some olive oil all around the outside. Now, you could put this in aluminum foil and put it in the oven. We like ours salt crusted. By the way, olive oil is really good for your skin, so I just go ahead and massage that into my hands. Now, I'm going to get the coarse salt. So I've got to wipe some of this oil off of my hands so I don't get my salt shaker all oily. This one is Himalayan pink salt. I love this salt. It's kind of a mild salt flavor. So I'm just going to put some coarse salt all over the outside of this potato, because Eddie will eat the skin too. So now I'm going to leave that right in that pan, and I'm going to put my sweet potato right beside of it. And I'm going to bake them at the same time at 425 degrees, but the sweet potato won't take nearly as long to bake as the russet potato. So I'm going to put them both in there, but I'm going to keep an eye on this sweet potato, and it probably won't take more than about 30 to 45 minutes to bake. Alright, so we already talked about what kind of steak to buy. You don't have to buy ribeye. You can buy a T-bone or a porterhouse or a sirloin, whatever kind of steak you like. Just make sure there's some good marbling in it if you can get one like that. So I've had my steak sitting out now for 35 minutes, so it's pretty much at room temperature. So now I'm going to salt and pepper it. I use this Himalayan pink salt or any kind of good coarse salt. Now remember, it looks like I'm using quite a bit of salt and pepper, but remember that when you turn this steak and that salt and pepper hits the pan, some of it's going to stay on the pan. So, and this is just coarsely ground pepper. You don't have to have pepper mills or salt mills. You can just use regular table salt and regular black pepper. It'll be fine. All right, so there's our steak. Now, while I've had these potatoes in the oven, I also had a cast iron skillet preheating so that I can do my steak in it. Sorry, I had to take a short break to go turn the TV down a little bit. All right, this is the cast iron skillet that I had preheating in the oven while I was baking the potatoes. Now, you don't have to have cast iron. You can use a Blackstone grill. You can do these on the outdoor charcoal grill or gas grill, however you want to do it. You can also do them in a stainless steel skillet, but I just don't think it gets the same kind of flavor. What you're after here is a pan that will sear this meat. So, here's our steak, and it's salt and peppered on that side. Now listen to this when it hits the pan. That's what you want to hear, because you want to get a good sear on that steak. So, I'm going to turn my burner on now to about medium-high, so that steak will get a good sear on it. And if you can see this fat cap around the end right there, I'm going to turn the steak up on that end so that fat can render a little bit. And that will give you some of the steak grease to cook this steak in. So I'm going to let that fat render just for a minute. I'll turn that up till it gets hot enough. All right. So let's let it cook on that side for 2 minutes. And I've got it almost on high now, so I can get this pan good and hot. I'll be back when 2 minutes is up. Okay, it's been 2 minutes, and I want to show you what the steak looks like when I turn it. But before I turn it, I'm going to salt and pepper the other side. And I'm going to turn a fan on because it's getting a little smoky in here. All right, now it's important that you don't flip your steak over and over and over because you want that good char. So this is just 2 minutes on that first side, and look how beautiful that sear is. So we're going to leave it on. I'm actually going to turn it down. I had it on 7, and the highest on my stove is 9. I'm actually going to turn it down now to about 3 because that pan is screaming hot, and I'm going to leave it another 2 minutes till it can get seared on the other side. Now it's only been about 2 minutes. I said I was going to leave it with the lid on in the pan for 3 minutes, but I looked and it looks like it's about medium rare, so I'm going to take this steak out of the pan. Now remember, it will keep cooking a little bit as it rests, and that is another point that I want to tell you about steak. You have to let it rest before you cut it because it keeps all those beautiful juices in there. So while we're waiting on our steak to rest for a little bit and for the baked potatoes to finish cooking, I'm going to show you our beautiful salad. This is just some leaf lettuce, and Eddie's is just leaf lettuce and carrots and purple cabbages and onions and a little bit of yellow bell pepper. Mine, I always start out with a really small salad. And I keep adding stuff till I get a huge salad, but I love it. So mine, I added some Johnny Jump Up blooms. These are little miniature pansies. Some chive blooms. If you've never grown chives, they're a really mild onion flavor. I absolutely love them. These are some blooms off of mustard greens. And I'm also going to add a little bit of chickweed and some... this is just chickweed out of my yard, but I've washed it really well, and I've made sure that there was no pesticides or anything on it. And then I grow French sorrel in my garden, and it has a really vinegary taste to it. So I'm going to put some of that in there too. Now, I will caution you, now look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And it's so good for you. I will caution you though, don't go picking wild herbs and things out of your yard unless you know exactly what you're looking at. Be sure that you can identify what you're eating. Chickweed, dead nettle, wild geranium, dandelion greens, all of those are really good for you, but you have to be sure you know what you're picking. So go to the internet or get you some books and be sure you know what you're picking. Be sure they've not been sprayed with any kind of pesticides, and they are really good for you. Okay, we're getting ready to cut into this steak and see what it looks like. And just to recap, the ways to get a great steak and a good tender steak: first of all, buy a good quality steak with good marbling in it. That fat means flavor, so that means everything. Set it out at room temperature for at least 30 minutes and let it knock that chill off before you cook it. Start it out in a screaming hot pan. I prefer cast iron or a cast iron grill. Grill it for 2 minutes on one side, and salt and pepper it before you, or put any kind of seasonings you want. You can use powdered garlic, whatever you want. Cook it for 2 sides. On the first side, flip it over, salt and pepper it, or season it how you want. Cook it for 2 more minutes, and then according to the thickness of your steak, if it's an inch thick or lower, I would just pull it off the burner, put a lid on it, and let it cook for about 2 or 3 more minutes, and then check it about doneness. Rare is 120 degrees, medium rare is 130 to 135, and then it goes up from there. So let's check our steak and see how we did. Grab a knife. Can you see that? Oh my gosh, that looks so good. That's a perfect medium rare. Now as you get over here into the thinner part, it's going to be more like a medium. But this is going to be delicious. And this is tender. I'm not having any trouble at all cutting that steak. I hope you can see that. All right, I'm going to get our baked potatoes out of the oven. We're going to have those potatoes and the salad with our steak. I hope you guys will try this. If you have any questions, just always let me know. I love that you're watching the videos, and I love the comments. Anytime you think I can do something a little bit different or a better way, I welcome your comments. So you guys have a blessed day, a blessed week. Let's thank God for everything we have. Bye-bye. Well, this wouldn't be one of my videos if we didn't have some kind of little video glitch. So when I did the video showing you that I cut into the steak and that it was the perfect medium rare, I think the camera angle was off and you couldn't really see it. So I'm including some still shots of the steaks after I put them on the plate and cut them up into bite-sized pieces, and I hope you can tell by that it was a good medium rare. So go out and get you a steak this week, and while the weather is beautiful, fix your steak outside or bring it in and cook it in that cast iron pan, and let me know how it worked out.